Hello, everyone, and welcome to Answer the Call. This week's topic is why can't Star Citizen just be for everyone? And I want to be very clear what that means. With the Xenothreat event and actually the prior Vandal Mask event, there's been a little bit of, hypocrisy and gatekeeping going on. And whether it's from a casual player or a non-combat player during the Vandal Mask event, doing things that event was more like entitlement of the mask. Like, I will do a conga line and I'll earn the mask however I earn it because I'm entitled to having that mask without doing it the way CIG intended it, let's say. And then when it comes to this Xenothreat event, I'm noticing something very interesting, and that's where this topic kind of came from. It was in a conversation with me and one of the moderators here, Broken, about Star Citizen is obviously going to have gameplay that isn't PvP related, and sometimes it's going to have gameplay that's PvP related that isn't PvE related, and sometimes there's going to be mining events and this and that. There should be a little bit of everything for everybody, right? And the thing that drove me nuts is during the Vandal Mask event, PvPers and myself, I wouldn't include myself as a PvPer necessarily, but I took part in the event in the way it was intended, had this mantra of not everything is for you, right? In the sense of casual players or non-combat players, I don't want to put them in a casual box because they might not be, have had mining worked on consistently forever, cargo hauling working, and little missions and stuff like that they can do in game from a PvE standpoint and from a non-PvP standpoint for a very long time, years. And recently we started getting like work on the flight model, work on missiles, work on guns, work on targeting, work on turrets. So the focus with ships has gotten more and more combat focused as well as PvP focused. So then they have this Vandal Mask event and we say, not everything is for you. Some things are for the PvPers. And then the very people that said that, when it came to the Xenothreat event, which is clearly a PvE event, but there was some miscommunication, I think, from CIG in terms of, yeah, go PvP the event. And then it started to ruffle some feathers. CIG makes a little change to make PvPing a bit more difficult. And then a larger change where, I don't think you get the mission now if you're a criminal, right? So it gets kind of difficult to take part in the mission then, sort of. So they switched tunes and the hypocrisy was so real. This is an open world PvP game. That's what they say. They took Star Citizen and put it in a little box and said, this is an open world PvP game. Everything is for me. Nothing is for you. The complete opposite. And yeah. What? So I really wanted to point that part out because that was the thing. And that's why can't Star Citizen just be for everyone? Do not gatekeep this game from people, please. Please. If we are to have we're not always going to agree on things. We're not always going to like each other. But the one thing we all agree on and that we all like is Star Citizen. And in order for it to be successful is if we understand the fact that I'm not like you, you're not like me, we like different things, and sometimes the thing that I like, I may not be able to take part in during the thing that you like, right? So that's the thing for me and I think it's very clear that there's going to be missions and events and things to do in the game that are completely separate from anything related to PvP. And there's going to be some things in this game that are completely unavoidable from a PvP standpoint, and then everything in between. And if you don't believe me, I have something here to prove that to you. It is very difficult at times to know the exact vision of Star Citizen in Chris Roberts' head. And one of the viewers, Mud Trucka, who often writes in on Twitter for Answer the Call, he sent me this clip this morning, and this is one of the few times that you get a really good macro overview of what Chris sees Star Citizen being. A lot of times we don't know the micro, but this is a really good macro for people to understand what the vision is and what you're looking to do, what they are looking to do. And it is directly contradicting this is an open world PvP game. So here we go. Let's take a look at this. Should have it up right here, and we do. Oh, I actually have to turn up this for you guys to be able to hear it.
Off, it's not. This is like a lot of people.
Hold on, boys, because I have just like random music playing. That shouldn't be.
Seem to think of Star Citizen as like PvP. There can only be one Highlander style, right? I put that in my letter, but it's not. I mean, it's yes, if you want to participate in PvP or compete with other organizations, we are going to put that gameplay in there. But the design of this is to have like 90% of the universe be AI. So actually most of your content in the game will be PvE, and it's certainly going to be fashioned in a way that if you don't want to engage in mano or person to person,
this video is quite old,
or whatever I should say,
possibly about 3 years.
Setup in terms of competition, you don't have to. And one of the reasons why I want 90% AI population.
But this has always been the vision.
The problem with PvP is there is always a winner and a loser. And both those people are players that have paid money for the game. And, not everyone is the best dogfighter, or not everyone's the best FPS player, or not everyone's the best trader, or whatever. So the great thing about AI is we can make AI of all levels. So no matter what, even if you're a crappy dogfighter, you can still take down some AI pirates and feel like you're the man. It's like, okay, yeah, I got him, I took him down. And so I really want to make sure that that's there, so people can have a good time. Because if you're only ever competing against other people, then there will always be winners and losers. And if you're someone that's not that great or don't have enough time to really practice up, it'll be a sucky experience for you and you won't play. So I want people that fall into that category to have opportunities to go out there and have fun and whip up on some pirates or do whatever they want to do without having to be forced into head-to-head competition. And so
without having to be forced into.
Based on that side, then it's not head-to-head competition in the overall game. I mean, the game has that if you want it, it has that if you don't want it. So it's not all about there isn't like this is the master of the universe person that you're going to get to. And we're deliberately building the gameplay to have gameplay for people that want to play lone wolf style, or play with small groups, or play with big organizations and fight over territories, that want to be doing sort of more peaceful style. They want to like mine or farm or trade or something, or people that want to do more combat focused things like piracy or mercenary or bounty hunter. And we're building all those things to be in the universe and give you opportunities to do them on both a PvE and a PvP basis. And there will be areas where there can be crossover between the two. But it's
Pyro,
up to you,
for example.
Whatever you're going to do. And in that case, I don't,
You set your own win condition.
Yeah, I don't understand. Yeah, and this is just how I want to play, how I would want the game to be, how I want games to be. And so it's completely reflecting how, as a player, I would like.
And he's the boss.
Think that,
and I think that kind of is the point here. Okay, and we'll leave it there and start getting into the calls in the actual show. But before we do, I guess I should do this. Today's show is still sponsored by Conqueror's Blade, which we were sponsored by last week. We did hit the goal at the end of the live stream last week. We are 22 away from hitting the second goal, where we will give away a Talon Shrike and a 100i. So I think what we'll do is, if we hit that goal, members of YouTube that are watching this as well, you could check down the link down below in the YouTube video and download Conqueror's Blade and give it a try. It's similar to Bannerlord, where you can move troops around and you build up your individual character and make them stronger and get better armor, things like that. It's actually really, really fun. It's a free-to-play game. And yeah, they are supporting us. And the more people we get signed up, the more support we get. So if we hit that 65 goal, that's going to be really awesome and a great free way to support this channel. So without further ado, and that said, that is my, like, Chris's view is how I've always envisioned it as well. And that they're making an MMO where a lot of the content is PvE. If you want PvP, you can find it. And there's situations where it's going to cross over. This Xenothreat event may or may not be a situation where it can cross over. I'm not against that. But what I am against is the mentality of this is an open world PvP game. You are always at risk. And there should be some situations, however rare or not rare, I don't know, where that's not the case. So that's kind of the point I'm trying to make. Let's hear what everybody else has to say, and let's get on with our first caller. We're calling him the Doc now, but it's Dr. Introverticius, who is a regular on the show. Hey, Doc, what's up, man? How you doing? Doc, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, perfect, perfect. What's up, man? So what do you think about this whole subject and, yeah, the PvP aspects of Star Citizen and the mentality of that this is an open world PvP game?
It's an interesting one. I don't think that all the time, but I do think that there should be some sort of PvP stuff, like everywhere.
Okay, so you agree with it's an open world PvP game, and you should always feel like you're looking over your shoulders.
Yeah, to an extent.
Okay.
But like, if you're in Stanton's, say you shouldn't be that like. But if you're in like Terra somewhere, you should be. It's like, okay, I'm safe. But if you're like somewhere else, you're like, okay, like I should be sort of okay here, but not always okay.
Sure. And so like a lot of people tend to bring up EVE Online, like there's high sec and null sec and these other, you know, security labels for the systems that we're in. I kind of agree with that mentality. That has been like casually mentioned, I think, in design posts, I feel like, before, that there's going to be high security areas and less high security areas. And it's also been mentioned that Stanton's like somewhere in between because they
Yes, I was.
The planets aren't
thinking as well.
Yeah, like the planets aren't owned by the UEE really, so it's like this weird kind of thing, right? So yeah, it's so I think you kind of agree with me, is that yes, space is open, space is dangerous, but you should be able to participate in things like mining, salvaging, some PvE type missions where you're not looking over your shoulder necessarily, like on a place like Terra maybe, or you know, more of the main core systems of the UEE.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
What do you think Pyro should be like then?
I think it should be like not a high sec. It should be somewhere that it's like you don't like enter there if you actually have to. So like, trying to think how to explain this, but say if you like have like an op there, and you absolutely have to like enter there, like that's system. You should have some extra like escorts or something.
Sure.
If there's any like, issues.
Sure. Do you want to touch on that a little bit? That's a very common kind of gatekeeping and I think pretty toxic comment made by PvPers occasionally. Just bring friends then. Just bring friends.
Like I've said that a few times. I'm not gonna. Like I've said that a few times in the past.
Yeah.
Like it's like it's it seems toxic, but it's also the right thing to like do to have extra friends. But it's
But
that kind of
it's not the answer for every scenario.
yeah, it's not the answer for every situation, but it's
Exactly.
just um
But that's tends to be the answer for every scenario for them is what I tend to hear. Doc,
yeah.
I'm seeing a couple comments, so we're gonna do the thing that we do with you occasionally, so people are more respectful. So I apologize if you get embarrassed. But
I'm not
guys,
embarrassed, but I just don't like to.
I don't like people being obnoxious, so I'm gonna say it. Doc has a speech impediment, guys, but Doc is brave enough to come on the show every time we have a show and talk about what he feels about the game Star Citizen that he enjoys. Sometimes it might be difficult to understand, but if you just stop and breathe and listen a little bit, you actually know what's going on and what he's saying very easily. So I don't like seeing comments in the Twitch chat about people who are brave enough to come on the show and talk about the game and other people who are just brave enough to hide behind their screen name and say things about people in Twitch chat. Nothing was really disrespectful in Twitch chat, just so you know, but I just want to keep it on, like, the comments tend to start there and then get just stupider and stupider and stupider. So we're going to nip it in the bud right now and just say that. So I apologize, Doc. I know it kind of puts you on the spot, but you know I love you and I want everybody being respectful. So, yeah. But yeah, I mean that tends to be the argument from people is like just get escorts. But at the same time, I think we all know that Star Citizen doesn't have a very good VoIP. First off, very good systems, right?
That's fair.
Exactly, like very good systems to create scenarios where you can meet up with your friends. I was literally just playing with my friend in a party, and he was constantly getting removed from the VoIP party for some reason. I think it was every time that I requested landing, he got removed from the party. So it like there's a lot of problems with the game in general to make that happen, right? Go ahead, Doc.
But in saying that, like, I don't think that there should be like sort of like a split between like casuals and like the hardcore, because I'm sort of like in between that,
Yeah.
and I'll like stretch into like opposite sides of the spectrum almost.
Yeah, I mean that's the point of the show today. Is that there's like with these events, we're quickly creating this rift between the Star Citizen community, between the people who engage in PvP and the people who don't want to. And we have to understand that like sometimes it's going to cross over, other times it's not, and we need to keep like respecting each other. You know?
That's the whole point.
Yeah, and understanding other people's points of view and how they want to play the game, as well as the developers. And I'm not going to touch on like the fucking disaster that happened this week.
Yeah, that was
but
it was rough, but yeah.
They designed a PvE mission. That was it.
That's pretty much what they did. And
so I mean, Tony Z touched on it.
Tony Z said that like it's not for them, but
but it's not for them either.
It's not for them, but it's not for them, like in the overall sense.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, like, how do you look at Star Citizen as from the like? Were you listening to the Chris Roberts thing? What did you think about that? Has that always been the way you thought about Star Citizen, or did you think it was this open world free for all sandbox that everybody keeps calling it when it just isn't? It's not a sandbox.
Free for all. It's not like every man for himself, but like there should be some sort of like you have to be careful sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not like every man for himself.
Yeah, like you
I
want
don't know,
that.
like,
I've said it so many times. You want that feeling of danger.
you want that, yeah, it's like that risk that makes it like even more, yeah.
Yeah, but some people don't.
Yeah, some people don't, and that's what that's what takes away from it, like almost.
Yeah. And the big thing that I really wanted to, like, why I wanted to play that video is that video may have been from 2018, but that has been the discussion topic of Star Citizen from day one is 90% NPCs, 10% players. So most of the content that you're going to be engaging with is not PvP. And my hope is, and he really didn't say it, but he kind of said it, is that a system like Pyro would funnel you into it for reasons of making money or something like that to make a player who wouldn't typically engage in PvP maybe have to look over his shoulder. But if I'm in, I don't know, flying around Hurston, doing some, I don't know, looking for fruit or something ridiculous like that, I hope I wouldn't have to look over my shoulder the whole time.
Yeah, exactly.
But maybe I would. I mean, one of the benefits, I saw this in Twitch chat way early in the stream when we were discussing this before we went live with the podcast, was that people said, you know, one of the advantages of Star Citizen here is that it's so big that you
It's
can,
so big that
yeah,
it's like you won't like ever be found easily.
exactly. And I feel like that's probably one of the reasons why Pyro was the next system, is like, you want PvP, guys?
Big.
Here you go. So
Yeah.
let's make the world bigger. Let's make the gameplay place bigger, but then put the PvPers in a place where you can actually like, we don't want to create the separation from a mentality standpoint, but from a where you play, I think CIG is really trying to make that
They're really trying
separation.
to like head towards that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting. Like as we get the next areas to sort of enter and see how that sort of unfolds.
Yeah. The last thing I would want to ask you is, because you said you want to see how it would unfold. How do you see it like, how do you see the transition? I don't think we're going to see Pyro this year. So it's not a discussion topic that like Star Citizen's going to change this year, but this is again a really long-term view of Star Citizen. If we start having these discussions now, hopefully people will not be so nasty to the other side of their opinion. But what do you see, and how do you see Pyro being implemented initially?
Probably as like a separate system. So like maybe it's just like I don't know, because it's hard to think about because I'm not like in that like industry. So
Because it's like empty, it's weird. So that's the one part that I don't know how they're going to make a change.
Yeah, it's just really
funnel us in there.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how they'll like implement Pyro as a system.
Just so, we found some valuable like thing, you know, that's twice the value of Quantanium, but it's only over here, guys.
And
wink, wink,
Pyro,
wink.
and you have to be,
you know.
Yeah.
And it only sells over here, guys. Wink, wink, wink. And then it's just, you know, you have to funnel people to these things. So, yeah. And then I think everybody will be more happy, because you have to remember is that you have piracy, where players actually want to fight over material or space or something, right? There's a profit incentive in piracy. But what we're seeing with Xenothreat is this isn't piracy. This is like gankers, PvPers, people who just want to kill. And that's fine as well, of course. But I think both can probably be found in those systems. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's...
I don't know, man. It's interesting, but I am getting more and more nervous about like the place that the Star Citizen community is going.
Yeah,
People are
it is
getting
quite,
nasty. People are getting downright nasty,
yeah,
and
it's very,
it's not good.
yeah,
Not good.
not good at
So
all.
I really hope we can change some minds here. We'll see. We'll see.
Hopefully.
Yeah, man. Doc, I love you, man. You can go play Eco now. Or were you playing the entire time we were talking? Be honest.
No, I
Wow.
wasn't playing.
Wow. I'm not playing either. I have played Eco during podcasts, but never on this podcast. All right, Doc. Have a good one, man.
Yeah. I'll see you later.
Talk to you soon. All right, let's bring in again, always got to preface this, and I might as well do that while I'm bringing up his name here. A former Star Citizen developer. So he's not going to really touch on how things worked for his time there, would be my guess. His name is Jerry. He did the Caterpillar mission as well as the 890 jump mission. That's what he's famous for. All right? But I think he'll probably talk on this from like a very high level, outside of CIG level, and just like a general how game design works. Because I think everybody should be able to enjoy Star Citizen. But a lot of, there was like even a comment earlier about Escape from Tarkov. Like they're very hyper-focused on the type of game they are, where Star Citizen is not, right? So let's see what he has to say about something like that. Hello, Jerry. How are you?
Hey, man. How's it going?
By the way, Elliot, who is another Star Citizen developer,
what's
is
he
saying
saying?
in chat, which Elliot has to fix all of your missions that you left behind all the
He's
time.
so full of shit. He's so full of shit.
So,
All right. Okay, you're sounding a bit muffled for me, so let me just. It sounds like you're underwater a little bit. You sounded fine on stream, but it's all right. We'll roll with it.
Probably wrong mic. I'll switch while you're talking.
Cool. Yeah, there's a few little bits on the Star Citizen stuff I wanted to go over, and then a few general game design aspects as well. Obviously, one of the things you just mentioned there is like people are attacking the Xenothreat PvE mission, and as you say, it isn't piracy; it's just ganking.
Yeah.
I'm curious if yourself or the rest of the Star Citizen community would be having this argument if it was a PvE mission for unlawful players and you had a bounty to go kill them, because at that point they're doing their PvE content. Why do you have a right to go kill them if they can't kill you? Like, I know from talking to like Virgil, Moist Noodle, Space Cutlet, there is a clamoring for more PV, like unlawful content in the verse. They want more reasons to do this.
No doubt.
And
but you're
like,
talking to people
like
who are pirates, not PvPers.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. But like, it seems to be this argument of there's no monetary value for them, so why are they doing this?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, what if they could salvage your ship? Would you still have that complaint?
No, I wouldn't.
Exactly. So then it's a case of, is it that big of an issue that they're doing this now, or is it just that the systems aren't there, right? I mean, I joked about it in chat with Elliot. What if you had it so that when an unlawful player, or when 4 unlawful players get to the Xenothreat event, you spawn in some reinforcement security that's part of this, faction that you're supposed to be helping with to fight them off. So you've got some extra stuff. I feel like there seems to be this negative consensus towards PvP players, and I want to try and have their backs a little bit from a standpoint of they still need stuff to do, or they're gonna not want to play the game at all.
Yeah,
and everyone says, oh, wait for pyro, wait for pyro, wait for pyro.
Well,
it's like
it's not coming
the
this
PvP.
year. Like
it's not. I don't know when pyro's coming.
Yeah.
But it's also the PvP moments are part of what make Star Citizen feel alive and give you this engaging content. It's what helps differentiate between other games, and like green zones have gone from a lot of places, and there's no PvP slider. So when you start placing your homestead down on a planet, are you just expecting that no one's going to shoot you? No, you need like security, whether it be AI or players, to cover your ass on this kind of stuff. Like, you can't just say I don't want PvP to be there, otherwise it's a completely different experience. Like,
yes,
it's not Star Citizen if you just have a PvP slider, or if you just add green zones everywhere. Then it isn't the same game that people are buying into.
But nobody's saying that, and I never said that either. So I want to make sure that like what I'm saying is clear, is that there should be some scenarios and situations or places that are green zones or that are PvE safe. Because I feel like if your game is completely open world,
Yeah.
PvP is available
But
everywhere, then it's the
there's
same
like
scenario.
this toxicity. Yeah, as you said, there's this like toxicity divide though at the minute that's come about from this event.
Yes.
What's the root cause of it? Is really what we need to get down to. Why are people so annoyed? Are they only annoyed because PvP players aren't getting a reward for killing them? In that case,
No.
what if they just had a mission? Then people wouldn't be complaining about it because it's like, well, I got a counter mission to kill you, so I'm doing my side of the story.
I don't think that's the case because they're doing it regardless because they want to, like, some people. I'm not speaking for some of the people you mentioned either, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Some people want to just ruin it, and that's okay. That's what some people want to do. But
oh yeah, I get that. And I know, like,
every
obviously
situation's able to be ruined, then it will.
Yeah. Someone will find a way, right? Someone will find a way to ruin it all the time. Yes. And I know, obviously, that they'll want people to get through the event so they can get feedback for it and balance it. And it's kind of, I guess, just a difficult balance in the state that the game is in at the minute to try and appease everyone. And I think this gets back to the whole point of why can it not just be for everyone, right?
Yeah.
No game ever can appease anyone. It's impossible.
Yes.
It's not. It can't happen, right? I was doing some tests on some content once, and I put out a feedback form to get feedback from some people that were testing it. And someone came back and said this was a 7 out of 10 piece of content. I was like, okay, pretty cool. 4 hours later, that same test was put out again. The same person did the same response and gave it a 5 out of 10. I was like, how in 4 hours has your opinion of this changed so much? He's like, oh, I found an exploit.
Okay.
It's like you can't appease everyone all the time. Then it's like you're going to be constantly changing things all the time, forever. Nothing's ever going to get done. You need to have like you set rules and go from it. I mean, like even games like Red Dead Redemption 2, right, or Dishonored, which is my favorite game. There's so much to do in those worlds.
Mm-hmm.
Well, none of it's perfect. People still find reasons to complain. Like Dishonored, right? I absolutely love. But I ask people why they don't like it, and they're like, "Oh, the sword play is boring." And I'm like, "But didn't you get the ability where you freeze time, teleport behind someone, slit their throat, teleport onto this ledge, time unfreezes, you jump off the ledge, stab some guy in the head?" He's like, "No, I didn't want to do that. I just wanted to counter people and wave my sword around." And it's like, yeah, it's different cases, right? Different strokes for different folks is what my friend Tom always says. Like,
sure.
I don't know. I just feel like there is no one. I'm yapping.
No. I just want to make sure that like what the title and why can't Star Citizen just be for everyone is clear. Is what I mean is from the only reason that that's titled this is because the argument for the mask event was this is not for you. This is a PvP event, and the argument from the same exact people is this is open world PvP. This is for me too. Right? Or this is for me.
There you go. That's a good point. The people should be allowed to cheese the event if they can, if you want to go and harass people at the event. I think that's a valid point. Like, if you want to mow and say
you
people
should look at it the other way
to get their event.
Or you should look at it the other way and say,
you can't conga line and I can't grief, basically.
Yeah. Sometimes you can't grief. Sometimes you can't.
But there you go.
Line,
sometimes, and this is the flip flop thing.
Yeah,
it's always going to be a case by case basis. Everything is circumstantial. It's all subjective, and I just don't feel like there's a piece of content out there in the world that is for everyone and ever will be.
I agree with that. I agree with that. But all I'm trying to say is that sometimes you're going to have a PvE only event that you can't grief. Sometimes you're going to have a PvP event that, guess what? If you suck at PvP, you're not going to be able to take part in. And everybody just needs to have that understanding.
You've got your statement is there. Sometimes you have a PvE event that you can't grief in, right? Start of that word was sometimes. At what point do you differentiate to say, all right, we can have PvP in this event, but not this event? Like the Atmo esports stuff, right?
Maybe it's the system.
Maybe it's the system. But like again, I feel like it gets into imagine territory, right? It's like, oh well, imagine if this has happened. Like, I think people are still thinking this is a fully finished game, and a lot of the reactions are based off that.
Of course.
It's still in development. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's such a hot topic.
Yeah, it's. I just want people to respect.
Yeah.
The
simple.
The way
Yeah,
other
the simple
people
answer
view
is-
the game in their mind, and that it's
Yeah.
not the only way that you want it to be. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
That's it.
It can't. Yeah. It
It's
can't
not
just be for
you.
everyone.
That maybe is more what the title should be. Is that the game is not just for you, or just the way you expect it to be. Is that there might
Yeah.
be something that's different, that isn't what you want, and it's something that somebody
Yeah.
else wants. You know what I mean?
For sure.
That's
And at the
kind of
same
what I'm
time,
trying to
I
get
feel
at.
like a lot of people feel like they've got a lot of ownership, right? Because they've invested so much time and probably a lot of money into the
Sure.
project. It's like they feel like they should have it their way. It's like you need to remember there are people making this game. They are going to decide how this game functions. Like
Yeah.
at the end of the day,
Yeah.
you can't just read a comment on Spectrum that gets 200 posts and say, right, well, 200 people have said they wanted this, so we're going to change it. Like you have to have your design sensibilities and stick to them, and then just work
And it
around
seemed
as
like
much
that's
as you
what
possibly
happened,
can.
right? When they extended the Comare zone and said if you're a pirate, if you're a red, you might not get the mission or whatever. I think Elliot posted in chat like what actually happens. I could scroll up and try to find it, but
I think it was like if you accept it and you're unlawful, you get kicked from the mission or something along those lines. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, I think it's past now. There was too many comments, but the idea of that was like clear that they made a design decision and said this is what it's going to be, regardless of the amount of people that were losing their minds with how much fun they were having ruining the event, like quote unquote ruining the event for a certain group. They were having a great time with the event, right? So it's yeah. It's one of those weird things. So you obviously can't please everyone. I understand that, and that's not the intention.
Exactly. Like, imagine if someone like got their org together and was running this event, and then four or five pirates came to attack them, and that org stopped those pirates and then finished the mission. That's such a cool piece of content for them. But then if two people are trying to do this event and they get ganked and they die, they're going to be pissed off and go, "Well, hang on a minute, this isn't very fair."
Yeah.
And it's like, how you can't please everyone, and I
Yeah.
think that's the TLDR version of your question. Is just why can't it be for everyone? Because it's literally impossible. It's impossible.
Yeah, but often what I keep trying to get at with you is that the title isn't necessarily the question that I'm asking. It's just the title that brings you, that kind of is the overall or loose theme of the show, but that's not really what it's meant to be. It's just more like, why can't we all just get along? Like, why are you
How many friends do
shaming
you have
other
in real
people?
life, Mike?
I don't have any friends in real life.
There you go. You can't get
shame-
along because people
I
love
removed
to
them all
argue and they love
for
to give
this.
each other shit.
Yeah. So it's, yeah, but I just think people should be more respectful for the way other people look at the game. Like I've been lucky enough to be able to take part in both sides of things. Like I did the Vandal Mask event, had a great time with that. I haven't really been able to do Xenothreat because it's just been busted or whatever most of the time.
Yeah.
But the idea of, you know, maybe I want to just move the boxes, that's part of the game design. I should be able to possibly do it, you know?
Yeah. My
So.
concern, I guess, is if you start to limit the PvP engagement, it kind of removes one of the aspects that's beautiful about Star Citizen, right? Is the openness of it and the way how everyone can interact with everyone. And I know it pisses some people off, but it's also really cool. Like when you go to take down a Comare and then someone else gets the mission to say, hey, this Comare is getting hacked, let's go take them down. Like those counter missions. They're so good and so enjoyable. It's such a great type of design that if we start just saying, I want this to just be PvE, at what point does it just become another MMO with PvP content and then a PvP area that's locked off? And then it's not really Star Citizen, right?
So should you be able to do that in like Terra? I mean, that's
I don't know, man.
right.
Is in Terra like the planet?
The system,
The
but
system?
maybe,
Yeah, it's a system,
maybe
right?
more around the
I'm not-
planet.
I personally think you should be able to do it everywhere, and
Okay.
the systems of the game should handle it. I'm all for the openness of it. I love it. I think it's like, I'd
Okay.
love to just be like, oh, you're in Port Olisar? Boom, you're dead. I've shot you. But then when I shoot you, 7 AI come out of a monster closet and take me down, and I'm in prison.
Yeah.
There's my repercussion.
Yeah.
Like, why have a prison system if you're not going to let people be villains, essentially?
I think it should, and I think you're right on how I'm feeling. Is it one of the biggest problems is Star Citizen's just broken, right? So they're starting to put that aspect in around the stations, right? Where if you shoot, you're going to get a warning. If you keep shooting, there's going to be a security response, and the security response should be insane and should be able to be insane in a place like Terra, right? So
yeah, for sure.
I think, and that's what you're saying, right? But in this case, like, maybe you shouldn't be able to shoot anybody. Like, I still think the game should recognize if you are weapons hot or not, rather than targeting a player or not. So for me, maybe if you have your weapons on and you're in these like super safe areas, it's like, yo, turn your weapons off, dude. Because it's like literally like holding a gun and pointing it at somebody at that point. Like, hey, weapons need to be off here.
Yeah.
So,
no, I don't know. I love the aspect of, or the idea of just being able to do whatever you want in the game. And like, I just feel like if we start limiting it, it's not going to be Star Citizen anymore.
Sure. But would you...
And I really want it to be Star Citizen.
I agree. I'm with you on that, actually. And you kind of shifted me more back in that direction a little bit. But for something like...
it's just another space MMO that you can easily transition between planets on.
Yeah, or it's just another MMO that's got locked off content on both sides. Yeah. If you want a PvP, over here. If you want a PvE, over here. And that's it.
Mm-hmm.
You want them to intersect at least a lot more often than other games. But let's jump back to the Terra just for 1 second. Because, again, like, this is what you did and do for a living, and I don't, so I like to just pick your brain. Is a place that's super, super in the core systems of the area that should be more safe, like a place where, like, I don't know, I never played WoW, but a place in Ultima Online was like the last like major MMO that I played really seriously, was like Britain Bank, where you just stood there and you were like, hey, I'm selling this. You want to buy my dragon or whatever, right? So it was just like you never looked over your shoulder and thought you were going to get shot in the head.
Yep. Reminds me of RuneScape, where you just stand in the bank going, hey, I'm selling spamming. Black G trims. Anyone want to buy? And no one can come and backstab you and take that Black G trim from you.
Exactly.
And I think, like, hypothetically, it would be, as you mentioned, a system like Terra.
Yeah.
When you go there, as you go towards a planet, and I'm theory crafting here, and I'm in Imagine mode, it's like you enter the atmosphere, and the ATC is like, hey, you can't land until you disable your weapons.
Okay, cool. So
and as you're walking through, like, shipyard or whatever, if you draw your weapon, every security guard is like, wait, what are you doing? Put your weapon away.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Snaps, and they do you know, they are working on non-lethal weapons, so they don't have to kill you. They could just be like,
tase you and send you to prison for just pulling your weapon out, essentially.
Exactly. So they are places that are safe, but if you're maybe a god, you can kill those guys and cause a little bit of trouble before you eventually get knocked out.
And that's the Star Citizen point, right? Then it becomes well, if you go in there and pull your weapon out, all the security guards come for you. But if 50 pirates roll in, they can take that port hostage and you can't land there anymore. That's what makes Star Citizen so cool and unique. And if you remove that, it isn't Star Citizen anymore, in my opinion.
Hey, Jerry, you can't bring 50 because there's only 40 on a server. Sorry, man.
Well.
All right, we're going to...
Anyway, I think I've rambled on. Sorry for yapping, but I feel like I love talking about this stuff. It's really cool.
Yeah.
I think I made my point. And I think we agreed on a lot of stuff, maybe still disagree, but I'm sure ASN will prove me wrong on all of this now.
Yeah, we'll see. So we'll bring him on and see what he has to say. Another game developer, so it's pretty cool to have you guys on and hear your perspective, because a lot of the times we as backers sit there and go, this should be so easy, or this is how it should be. But you guys are literally educated or conditioned to see way more points of view and all the little...
I'm pro keeping Star Citizen the unique, cool experience it is, and not just divulging it back into that. But yeah.
Before I let you go, what do you think of New World switching from that open world PvP to whatever it is now?
Oh, dude, I didn't even manage to play New World because I didn't get into it. But
Wow.
maybe that's a conversation for next time. Who
Maybe.
knows? Maybe I'll be back on.
Because that seemed like that was what happened. They were like, "Oof, maybe this is a mistake. PvP all the time."
Well,
And
Time
that
will
was
tell.
that was their
Me
solution.
and
for
ASN
it.
had a good chat about Crunch as well. ASN's a very clued up guy, so you're all in for a treat.
All
Duke
right,
knows his
sweet.
stuff.
All right, Jerry, we'll let you go, man.
Uh-huh.
Have a good one. Thank you so much for coming on.
Cheers, mate.
Love you, dude.
Take it easy, dude.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, before we go to ASN, I did switch. But before we go to ASN, I know that there are some tweets. So let's see if there is anything we want to discuss there from guys who do not have a mic or do not come on the show. Most likely they don't have a mic because they spend too much money on Star Citizen. But that's just my guess. Oh my god, it's going to make me log in. Okay, hold on. So we're going to not do Twitter right now, and I'm going to log in and do this in a second. ASN, welcome, dude. I have to sign into Twitter. So,
hello.
Hello. How are you?
I'm doing good. All these nerdy game devs, man. Jeez.
Right?
What are we gonna do?
I don't know.
Well,
So what do you think about this? And again, it's more the mentality than the actual game design is what I'm touching on. But you are obviously more than welcome to address the game design aspects of it.
like when you say mentality, though, how does that mentality like reflect onto the game? Like, is that the topic? Because like mentality eventually turns into something, right? Otherwise, it's just people saying stuff.
I think what I mean by mentality is when there was the Vandal Mask event, which you were pretty much like really trying to hammer out your game at that time, so I don't even know if you're aware of it, where you had to kill 50 unique players, 50 different players with a certain ship, and they had to be actual people, not NPCs. 50 different ones, and it basically caused everybody to just smell blood in the water and just go nuts and kill everybody they saw, which was wild, right? So, and then people were calling everybody griefers. And then what I said and many other PvPers said was that not everything in this game is meant to be a PvE experience. Sometimes the game is going to have a PvP experience, and you need to understand that. But then the same players, when it came to this thing, which was, this PvE created, crafted event, was that, this is an open world PvP game. So it was more of sometimes there's PvE content and sometimes there's PvP content. It's not always intersecting perfectly. Sometimes it isn't. And those players were saying the exact same thing, but the opposite. And it was like totally, there was so much hypocrisy, and it was just, like, I was like, wait, you're the same people that said this. This made no sense. So that's when I was like, I need to talk about this and see what other people think, because I don't like that way of thinking, or that attitude of this is for me and not for you, when this game is for everybody.
Yeah, I do understand. Like, there is always that battle in these MMO games of the player style and like which part of the community wants what, how much of a majority, or how loud are they? They kind of influence a lot of the Discord in this situation. And I would say, like, even in that event, technically speaking, we have local security, right, on stations and stuff like that.
Sure.
So you
just don't
could
work
kind of
well.
Stay in haven for a while and stuff like that. I think in general it's nice to have those events, but there needs to be certain ways to give players a way to escape and kind of like hide. Like, there needs to be more things around it so people can actually disguise themselves better, maybe. I don't know the full details of the mechanics of the event, but I mean, if the server went to a full-on like battle royale mode with like everybody being visible on their radar and stuff like that, that's something else. But like, if you could actually hide and like stay away or like stay stealthy for let's say a week in game just for this event duration. I think that adds a little bit of spice. But I think the other issue, as you mentioned, is like there's a lack of Eve like low sec or null sec areas in Star Citizen in general, system wise. Like that's why Pyro, as said, will be a big point to satisfy that player base, like that part of the player base. But it's really tough because like I think the game Star Citizen itself is a very let's try to do most, if not everything, type of game. Like that is why it can appeal to so many different people. But that is also exactly why it has struggled in advancing in several areas of the game.
Sure.
Because there is so much width into what needs to be developed. And I think like you have that PvE experiences, it's like mining and all that stuff. And mining is really good, but there needs to be other elements which also need to be equally developed, and PvP as well, which needs to be equally developed. So all these like different parts of the player base are like not equally satisfied, and that also leads to a lot of the mentality of the backlash, because certain parts of the player base is more satisfied with features and content than the others. So something that happens that upsets them will make them speak louder against it because they're not as satisfied, or vice versa. So there are all these like community things that are going on as well.
Yeah.
Overall, as a game, I think that SC is really good on the realism aspect because it has that first-person universe. It's wide and very realistic. Design-wise, that's what appeals to me, really. And it is something that keeps a lot of the more let me hop in and have some fun type of people away from the game.
Yeah.
And that's more my, like, that's my, it appeals to my style, which is like, take your time, go do stuff, bit of realism. And that is automatically a bar for a game because you can't just hop in a match and just like start blasting. I mean, they also want to appeal to those players with the smaller arenas, but like, we know how that's going.
Yeah. There's just not enough time to do it all.
Yeah, so basically that's the kind of that's
Don't
the
get
kind of
the
like
theaters of war
my
frogs. The theaters of war frogs in chat are gonna start freaking out.
Yeah.
Where's my theaters of war?
Yeah, it is like an idea to appeal to everyone is kind of appealing to no one.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of like, okay, it doesn't have to be very laser focused, right? Like if you go very laser focused, then you're way too like you're way too niche.
Yep.
Which is like a downside. Which is, I mean, can be a plus side, depends on what your target group is. But like with Star Citizen, the advantage is it can appeal to so many, but you still need to kind of get an idea, like, or maybe find a way to make all these people satisfied, which is so difficult to do.
Yeah.
Larger groups of different types of players that need to be satisfied means more work needs to be done to satisfy different groups of players, which is quite complex. And I think that's what's happening right now in the alpha.
Yeah, I mean, I think this event proves that more than anything and especially your PvP players are just thirsty for something. And I think that's kind of what Jerry was saying, is just like, I mean, these guys never get anything. You know, they had the mask event, but then it was totally cheese, so it took the value of the mask event away. And then this, where it was like they were kind of left out of, and it feels kind of left out of, I should say, but there's no like win condition for them necessarily, other than just watching the world burn. But the idea of what you're saying, trying to appeal to everyone, is it makes it so hard. And I think that this really shows that, is they're like, all right, we're gonna make this mission, it's gonna be all PvE, and then the PvPers are like, what about me? Like, I'm crying over here for something, man. You know? So it's tough. It's tough.
But there is no end goal to PvP. So just a basic example.
Okay.
Imagine. Imagine. So in EVE Online, when you PvP on certain areas, you're PvPing for faction war, you're PvPing for territory control, you're PvPing for trade lanes. You're PvPing, there's a bigger goal. Like, they're only a small part of really scummy people are just out there to PvP just for fun, which is also fine. But then again, the world is set in a way where in certain areas it's a pass, in certain areas you get immediate response, and like that is the point of the whole thing. It gives the players who want danger areas to go to have danger in, and it gives other people the idea that, oh, what is the point of killing someone? The point of killing someone could be loot. The point of killing someone could be disrupting something in their org. Like there's so many reasons. Like you can take inspiration for from any real life, like even historical war or event or whatever. Like there are reasons. People rarely kill just to kill. Like there's, of course, that is also possible, but like it's a rare thing. And in games, it should also be a rare thing. But if there are no other things to back these PvP players up, obviously they will go and do the only thing they can do, which is just kill and get some money. Okay. Like, you know, and for the person who's on the receiving end, who's just like going around with their like, you know, weak default outfitted ship, that's a bad experience because like, why did I just get wrecked? Like I just literally did nothing. I'm not part of something, you know, I'm just strolling around here or whatever. Yeah,
it's I don't envy them, that's for sure. I don't envy the situation that they're in. But I just expect as Star Citizen grows for those players looking for certain types of content are going to know where to go to get it. And I think that maybe is what should happen, but then the more I talk to Jerry, the less I feel that way. It should just be incredibly difficult if you're going to try to break up something in a more safe area, I guess.
Yeah. And that's the whole thing, like the risk versus reward.
Yeah.
How much am I putting in? How much am I getting back? If that doesn't exist, like what's the point of everything? Like, you know, you have Stanton, which is supposed to have these big corporations and a lot of security, has security gaps in between, but that was the point of Stanton. To kind of deliver this like inconsistency of society, to kind of deliver this inconsistency of law and order, so Star Citizen can experiment with these moments of piracy, with these moments of, you know, a lot of trade and those things conflicting with each other. But right now it really feels very like equal until you get to Grimhex or until you get to like one other spot. But like anything in between doesn't really feel like there's like that, you know, like you don't feel like I need to go to the station because it's safe there. Like it rarely happens. Whenever you're in PvP, you're like, okay, I just need to jump there. But you're not thinking overall, okay, let me go from this station to this station because that lane is more safer, so I can carry my goods more safely. It's a less chance of being intercepted or whatever, you know.
Yep, and that's something that they seem to intend to want to have be there with interdiction ships and all this, but just not a system that's in place yet.
Yeah, and player density is also the other issue. There's not enough
that's
players
for sure.
per area, I think.
That's for sure.
Like you have an interdictor ship, but like
how do you interdict
somebody go by once an hour, you know, or like once
a week? Yeah. If you're in a certain place, certain places, it's very not often, you know. But yeah. So all right, man.
Definitely, yeah. Those are my thoughts on that.
I appreciate it. I appreciate your thoughts. I'm glad you came on.
Glad to be here. Hope you're doing well. Hope everything's going good.
So far, so good. How about you? Everything good? How's the Scissorrain going?
Oh yeah, we're going great. We're working on a big patch, and it's
oh no, you're breaking up.
Features, cool new content additions.
You broke up just as you were saying everything. Yeah, I hear you now. Go ahead. Just you said working on a new patch, and then that's the last thing I heard.
We're working on a new patch, with new features and content and art and all that stuff.
Okay, awesome. Exciting.
Yeah, really focused on that stuff. Thank you.
Yeah,
anyway, I'll take off now.
All
Have
right,
a good one. Stay healthy, Mike.
You too, buddy. I appreciate it. Be good. All right, our next caller is Fall Line, but before we get to him, we are gonna take a look at a tweet. This tweet is from Rainwalker, and he said, "SaltEMike, Tony Z said there should be something for everyone. The salvage part is for PvPers, the Idris part is for the PvPers, but the PvPers won't stop at One stage, they won it all. The Vandal Mask was all PvE, all PvP, no PvE. I think the mixed events don't work. Separate events is the answer. I mean, you can have a mixed event if you maybe separate it a little bit. But what I'm looking for more, when I was looking at this event specifically, was looking for like an end. Everything could have been jumped by PvPers, but when you killed them, there needs to be a system in place like prison, which is why I think it was good that the thing was spread to the when I say the thing, the comm was spread out to the wreck, because when you kill a PvPer, you need to make it so it takes time for them to get back and engage in the fight again, because the actual delivery of the boxes took time, right? So the whole thing was that it just needed a little bit of a design change to make the fight end when it ends. Because if people are just constantly trickling in and constantly PvPing in the situation where the fight was kind of over, the PvPers lost, the PvEers won in that situation, then okay, now we can deliver the boxes, risk versus reward, we're good. For this scenario, but for some other things, like what if there's I don't know, a mining mission or something like that, I'm kind of the same ilk, in the sense that like that place that you're delivering the ore, or the place that you're actually mining the ore, could get jumped. But it's tough because a ship like a prospector dies in 2 seconds. So it's the situation where it's a lot of game design and issues where how does a miner play in that scenario, where one missile and they're dead, a couple shots from certain weapons and they're dead. So it's this scenario where you do have to try to please everybody if there's two sides to the scenario. So you got to make it challenging for the PvPer, but you have to make it possible for the PvEer to enjoy. So it's tough. So the loop breaks, like I'm seeing in Twitch chat. The loop breaks because there's no end to the PvP at the wreck, and that's why I think those things have to go in. But all right, let's move on to our next caller. Our next caller is Fall Line. Fall Line, welcome to the show. Can you hear me, bud? I know you were waiting for a while. Do you hear me?
I do. Let me pause the stream so that I'm not hearing echoes.
All right,
All right,
no problem.
there we go.
I hear you. So what do you think about the topic? You've been typing in chat as well, I think, so.
Yeah, and I try not to pick fights, but sometimes I I don't succeed. But overall, I think, I have thoughts on the general topic, but specific to the title of the ATC, I think the answer to why we can't all just sort of get along is, you've touched on it a few times, but I think it really is the crux of the issue, is we need to remember that this is not a finished game.
Yeah.
And that a lot of these problems are problems because of issues with servers, issues with population, and issues with like missing technology and gameplay loops.
Yep.
And I think take this, obviously the catalyst for this is the Xenothreat event, which, to my mind, I look at that, I say, this is clearly a combat event, whether it's PvE or PvE. You should go into it expecting some risk. There are terrorists attacking.
Yep.
So ideally, you would go to those wrecks and move your stuff around. You would already want escorts because you should expect the Xenothreat folks to be showing up, and they do, but only a little bit. So they're not really that much of a threat. So in this case, if they were more of a threat, if there were more of them, you might be prepared for those PvPers when they show up.
Sure. In the end, the NPCs just have never really been a threat yet.
Right.
Because AI, servers, everything you mentioned, right?
Exactly. So we get, and I want to put this out there, I play mostly PvE because most of the game, like you said, that is available is PvE content.
Sure.
So, if I get it, and I played that event from the side, on the side of the angels, and And I personally enjoyed it when I had PvPers come up, because it was like, okay, here's a threat that doesn't die immediately.
Sure.
But I understand not everybody wants to do that, which is why an event like this, you should have some sort of a division of labor, and that is where, of course, server populations come in.
Mm-hmm.
So there, we have to remember that these events are occurring in a test environment, which even live, right, we have to remember is a test environment. So yeah, we just have to treat it like it's not a finished game. And in the end, I'm sure there will be plenty of missions for people who don't want to have to worry about getting ganked. Even if the possibility is still there, like you said, the size of the universe may keep that probability low.
Yep.
In improving, high sec type mechanics, keep that probability low. I'm definitely on board with, I think it was Jerry was saying, I don't ever want that risk to go away, because when I'm doing PvE stuff, it's exponentially more fun because of the risk that I might get ganked. And I don't want that risk to always come from a 30k.
Yeah.
So that's sort of where I net out on that. We all just need to remember that the game's not done yet, and PvPers aren't necessarily trying to grief. If they're doing bad manners and ramming people on pads, you can make the argument that that's different. I think
That's
it is.
griefing. Killing other players for the sake of killing is PKing. That's different.
Yeah.
It's PKing. It is an aspect of every MMO I've played.
Go ahead.
I just said PKing is an aspect of every MMO with PvP that I've played. Like, killing a player for the sake of killing him. Maybe you loot him, maybe you don't. It's just, it's not, the benefit is not an in-game benefit. It is a ego or feels good to outwit that person in that fight, whatever. But there is a benefit to just absolutely always killing, and that's what you want to do.
Gotta get those entries on Zkill, man. But yeah, and I like that risk always existing. But griefing is a real thing, and I think we can design things to make that less likely, right? So like in the Xenothreat event, if you were to ram one of the cargo ships that people are trying to put boxes in such that they can't actually reach it anymore, that kind of sucks. That sort of does mess up the gameplay loop in a way that just killing people doesn't, in my opinion. That becomes less likely if you have escorts, or if you're forced to have escorts because Xenothreat themselves are more of a risk. So again, these are all of this stems from the fact that the game's not done yet. And we just have to remember that and not be shitheads to each other.
Yeah. And yeah, we just need to respect, like, I mean, again, that's the whole theme is that you need to respect what people want to do in the game, and the understanding that Star Citizen is trying to catch all more than most, and you cannot force your vision for the game on anybody else. It's just not fair. And if you do, and that's what ends up happening with this game, you're just going to be playing by yourself, whether you're a PvEer or a PvPer. It goes on both ends of the spectrum. If you're trying to force PvP out and like force in a PvP slider or something like that, there's not going to be any PvPers in this game. And if you do it on the opposite end, where PvPers are saying, well, this is an open world game, I could kill anybody anywhere and do whatever I want, then you're not going to have anybody to kill.
Yep.
And if you do have anybody to kill, it's going to get really boring. And if you're just killing miners at Port Olisar or whatever, eventually you're going to switch games, and I don't know how long you can do that for, kind of thing.
Yeah, and I do want to say that I don't like the idea of completely, separating out those gameplay loops into, different systems. For example, I like the sort of Eve style security, although I might make it a little less potent, right? Because I've spent when I first got into Eve, I spent a lot of time in high sec just doing PvE ratting missions, and I got bored. And I get that not everybody will, but I like the universe to feel a little bit more like one big thing, because when you think about Eve, like high sec PvEers and like null sec or low sec PvPers, like very rarely actually interact, and I don't want to see that for Star Citizen. But I think there's a balance to be struck there, and I think that the mechanics that they have said are going to be in the game are good ways of doing that. And I think we all just need to remember that we're playing an alpha, and just to enjoy the content that we have while we wait for it to be done.
Sadly, but true. A sad reality, but that's what it is. Let me ask you, how long have you been backing Star Citizen for?
I want to say I bought my first game package in like 2015.
Okay, so you've been around a while. I thought maybe you were like a year old, and that's where you had that mentality from. So most people are just getting bored and are ready for some substance.
Yeah, I mean, so for a long time, like I backed for the first time in 2015, and I would play it on a laptop, and I could barely, like, the hanger module ran at like 2 frames per second, so I just like didn't do that. But since then, once I got a good computer, I'll hop in. For a long time, I would just hop in for maybe a week or two every major patch, get bored, and then set it aside and come back when there was more stuff to do. The last couple of patches, I have been playing a lot more. Because there's a lot more to enjoy, a lot more to do.
Yeah.
It just keeps getting better as long as we're not being dicks to each other.
This is true. But all right, do you have anything else you want to add before we move on?
Just that, I definitely feel like I had some big shoes to fill coming on after a couple of really knowledgeable folks, and I just want to say you got a great show going with getting people like them on the line. So thanks for putting it all together.
I appreciate it, man, and you did great, and yeah, I really appreciate your call, and I'm glad you decided to come on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, buddy, be good.
Bye.
All right, before we go to our final caller for the day, we have quite a few tweets to get through, so let's get through them. We have from Ramboos, he said, Gray Keck, I just realized this game is not going to fulfill everyone's personal vision of what they think it will be. That would be impossible. There'll be some things in Star Citizen game design that will take people out of their comfort zone. That's a good thing. I think that, I don't know like why that's in quotations, and then why. Very nice. So yeah, the idea of that and taking people out of their comfort zones, I think that's a good thing. But should people be out of their comfort zone all the time? Right? Is what I kind of have issue with. Is that's not necessarily the game that I would enjoy or want to play or anything like that. And maybe King touches on that a little bit more when he comes in. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I feel. Is I don't want to have anxiety all the time, but I want to be able to make the choice and go, I need this thing, or I want this thing, and I need to go to a dangerous place to get it. Because that is a lot of what Star Citizen is developing as well here in more recent times, I'm noticing, is the idea that you make choices and you plan, right? And the plans and choices that you make are based on what you expect to experience. Sometimes you might expect something different, right? But for example, like going down and mining on Aberdeen or something like that, you got to bring your hot suit on. And the idea of saying, all right, I'm going to that risky area. Let me make sure I have my best shields, my best weapons. I'm geared up. I have food because I might be stuck out there. I have oxygen, and I have a way to communicate or whatever, right? Like, imagine whatever you'd like. But the idea of making that choice is something that I think is pretty important. We have another tweet from Rainwalker who said, if CIG want a PvE event, they should remove any choke point in the collecting area and delivering area, like a mining event of aluminum from anywhere and delivering to a refinery. This way they can guarantee no PvP is going to happen except by chance. I disagree with that. I really do. I think, going back to Fall Line's call is they don't have to remove the choke. They need to make it really difficult for the people fighting, right? They have to fight off security. The whole idea of this event and what they're saying is they don't have enough people to help with Xeno threat, but that doesn't mean that they don't have nobody, right? So they have some people that can help. Some of the people are NPC security or UEE people, and some of them are not. And that's kind of the idea for me, is that it should be a little bit more difficult than not. All right, I think we have one more tweet here that I will bring up, and this one is from Aimless. And Aimless said, Star Citizen aims for death with consequences. That means killing players will also have consequences. There can't be the quick turnaround combat we have now unless it is via in-game simulation. Ultimately, this will disappoint some people. It's true. It's true, and that goes on both sides. If the PvPers or the PKers end up winning at the rec site in this match, in this server, let's say, that the PvEers should not be able to come back that easily either, right? It should be that situation that I just mentioned, or it's like, all right, we got to gear up again, and that's going to take some time. And if the PvPers or PKers decide that they want to move the goods and sell them, and they're more on the piracy end of things, then they can do that, right? So it's one of those things where Star Citizen, in a way, can be for everybody if we just understand the other person's point of view. So with that said, let's move on to our final caller, King Gear. King, welcome to the show, man. How you doing?
Good, how are you?
I am good. So what do you think about all this? I know you're the last caller, so there's a lot of people that kind of came on the show and said their piece. Is there anything you want to respond to or add to?
I mean, not really. I mean, everything that I've really wanted to say has been said already.
Okay.
I'll just kind of, go back to the main question that you have on screen. Why can't Star Citizen just be for everybody?
Yeah.
It's a really hard thing to kind of nail for CIG because you have so many different types of people that want to play the game in their own way,
Mm-hmm.
don't want to be bothered, but they're unable to because, and I'm not gonna, say the reason for that is PvP, but people that want to ruin the experience for others. We'll
Yeah.
just say that.
Sure.
EVE Online is the greatest example, right? I played EVE maybe about 2 weeks ago. Just got back into it, after like a 6-month break or whatever. And the corporation that I'm in, um, they're moving all their capital ships, all their industrial ships, all the stations to another space to help out with the war that was going on, a big war. And I, was bringing my stuff from nullsec, 0.0 and below space, the security, all the way up to high sec. In high sec, the higher you go, the faster the response is for the security. I was bringing my ship in it, and there was a bunch of gankers on a gate. While I was trying to warp to another gate, and I lost about 7.3 billion isk of items that I had, and that just made me quit. So you really can't, there's a fine line, really, of Star Citizen being for everybody, Star Citizen not being for everybody, because there's
Yeah.
going to be points in the game where you just want to rage quit, you want to bash your monitor like how Summit did, or how you even smash your desk sometimes.
Yeah. Nobody likes losing. I mean, that is for, like, that clip with Chris is such a good example of how difficult it is to make a game and to keep everybody happy. It's impossible. But his mentality of there's gonna be stuff for PvPers to do, there's gonna be stuff for PvEers to do. I hope he delivers. I hope he delivers. I hope that there's choice. There's a little bit more choice in the matter, where instead of PvP just being so easy to do everywhere as it is now. I think that goes back to the point with what everyone's saying is the game's not finished. It's just too easy now.
And that's it. Right now
Yeah.
we're at a sensitive stage where, I still feel like CIG is trying to figure out what they actually want to do with Star Citizen
Mm-hmm.
and the whole Squadron 42 side of it. Kind of, they're bashing heads against each other because they want to release Squadron 42,
Yep.
but they also want to release content for Star Citizens. They're like, okay, what do we prioritize? But it's true. I hope everyone that has backed the game secretly, no matter how much they hate the game, they want the game to succeed. They want to just laugh in everybody's faces that try to deny the game.
Yeah.
All that good stuff.
Yeah. And it's going to take a lot of work to get it there. And it's going to be hard. And it's going to take a long time.
Sure.
Yeah. Hopefully
that's
we
it for
have the
me.
patience for it. Yeah. All right, King.
All right, brother.
You be good, bud. Thanks for your call. Appreciate
You
it.
too. Kiss.
See you later. All right, guys. That's going to do it for this week's ATC. We ended pretty early. We started pretty early. About an hour and 20 minutes. It wasn't the 4-hour show that we had last week, basically, with Captain Burks. Hopefully this one will be up, have all the sound and everything. I apologize for last week. What a mess. What an absolute mess that was last week. So my apologies. Looking forward to getting a weekend review up this week and just playing more Star Citizen with Xenothreat, hopefully starting to really come along. So, yeah. Let me know your comments down below. Should Star Citizen be with everyone? I think there were some differing opinions, especially in the tweets from the whole, yeah, with everything. I don't know. So it's just the idea of, for me, I try to respect everybody's opinions as much as I can. That is a big thing here in this community, that this little niche community that we have here on Twitch and maybe a little bit on YouTube, is I try to respect everyone's comments. I try to respect everyone's opinions on Twitch, and it's hard sometimes. I really try to see people's point of view, and that's where the show came out of. I started almost every week. I start with one thought process about how it should be, and I really felt that things should be more separate. And then you hear what Jerry says and what makes Star Citizen so great for him. And then you go, oh, and you start thinking otherwise. And that's kind of how I feel about it now, is, yeah, you should be able to engage a little bit, but it should be very difficult or something like that. So everything changes. So remember, respect people in the comments down below, respect other people's opinions, and always respect that vision of Star Citizen that we heard at the beginning of the show. Because that is that is the game you're playing. And don't twist it. Don't twist it. That is the game you're eventually going to play. And don't try and twist it into whatever your box that you think Star Citizen is. It's not only that box. There's a box outside of that box and another one outside of it and another one. And there's other people that are in multiple boxes and all that stuff. So, yeah. Don't stay in your bubble. Burst that bubble. Talk to other people. And be great. All right, guys? Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. Leave a comment down below. All that stuff. And I will see you guys next week. Thank you so much, guys.